Hi, welcome to Fox's Little Nuggets, where the ZX81 of news meets the wobbly Rampack of reality, and everything has to get reset. Four great stories and an absolutely super, and finally, very much close to my heart. We'll begin with the NHS, which apparently, and this is an astonishing number, it spent £240 million in a single year storing paper records. It's got this huge computer system, but apparently everything's got to be put on paper and stored. It works out about 1.22 million per NHS trust per year. And according to the King's Fund, a significant chunk of that is likely to have been spent storing paper records. Paper. It's 2026. The NHS is now talking about creating a single patient record so that doctors can actually see the same information about you without having first to send Indiana Jones into a basement archive with a torch. And of course, this matters because Healthwatch found nearly a quarter of all adults have discovered inaccurate or missing information in their medical records. So we're spending hundreds of millions a year storing paperwork, which is, at least a quarter of the time, wrong. This is supposed to be one of the most advanced healthcare systems in the world, and yet parts of it are still apparently being run on folders, filing cabinets, and somebody called Margaret who knows where everything is. God help one and every one of us. Anyway, this second story, you won't be surprised. We're going to talk about Jess Phillips. But before we do please hit subscribe if you're yet to subscribe. It massively helps the channel. And YouTube have also been unsubscribed, so do check as well. But with the changes that have gone through on YouTube, myself and all your other favourite YouTubers, they really appreciate hitting that subscribe button. It really does make a massive difference. Anyway, Jess Phillips. She suffered a bout of diplomatic flu, apparently. She's admitted, indeed, that she pretended to be ill rather than actually be ill, so that she wouldn't have to publicly defend Peter Mandelson. During the period when the Prime Minister was still expressing confidence in Mandelson as an ambassador, Phillips was due to appear for the Home Office questions on the matter. But she knew that if somebody asked whether Mandelson was good at his job, she would have to say no. So she got around this by, I won't be in today, calling in sick. And then wonderfully she said, and ironically, she actually did become ill afterwards. Apparently Karma now has an NHS fast-track service. Phillips says she is much happier outside of government because she no longer has to defend positions she doesn't agree with. What, like, I don't want to have an inquiry into the gangs. She totally agrees with that. It does raise questions about collective ministerial responsibility. Traditionally, ministers resign if they cannot support government policy. They don't phone in sick. But there we go. She had a little duvet day just so she could avoid talking about Mandelson. I'll be honest, I kind of understand it. Just nipping back on the third story, we're going to nip back to the NHS because this is actually quite important as well, but it's not to do with the records. Labour is being accused of creating what the Lib Dems are now calling a bonfire of patient safety. The new health bill will change or remove several safeguards introduced after the last series of NHS scandals. Critics say it will weaken whistleblower protections, it will scrap local health watch organisations, and it will remove the NHS duty to cooperate with the Care Quality Commission. The government is trying now to insist that whistleblowers will still be protected, but those protections are being removed with this change in the bill. They also say reforms will streamline the system. Streamline. It's not a word that the government should use. There's a reason why things aren't streamlined. It's so that there's protections in place. Last year, the NHS recorded 403 of so-called never events, serious incidents that should simply never happen in the first place. There was 403 of them. So perhaps it's not the ideal moment to weaken the people whose job it is to shout out and say, "Excuse me, this is all going terribly wrong." So if you want to do it, just cut duplication, cut pointless paperwork, cut expensive quangos. But if you start cutting the alarm system because the alarm system is irritating, then you have to work out how many people are going to die. We're going to talk about John Healey, but not directly. Healey is being pushed by people in the left to adopt a wealth tax again. Tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. Where's the rich gone? Buggered off, haven't they? Well, Andy Burnham is under growing pressure from Labour allies on the left to push Healey into adopting this wealth tax principle. Now, the campaign group Compass wants 2% annual levy on net wealth above 10 million. They say it will raise 24 billion a year. It will not. There are also calls to bring capital gains tax closer in line with income tax. Yay! Because that's the best thing you need when you want people to invest in this country and actually buy capital product to make money and employ people and grow. We're going to tax your growth on that. Okay, that's fine. Now I'll do the same thing. We're going to do it over there where they only charge me 2% capital gains. Yeah? Okay, bye. Literally, that's it, right? And this is the difficulty that economists, conservative, reform, anyone with a brain, and they're all pointing out the same problem. Rich people move. They take their money with them. Money moves because rich people want it to be somewhere where it's not going to get taxed. Businesses can move. It takes 2 phone calls. And if you repeatedly announce, especially in advance, that the successful are simply an untapped revenue source waiting to be sheared like sheep, eventually they decide to become somebody else's revenue source. Burnham has not committed to a wealth tax, but he's being pressured into it, and I don't think he's got the balls to say no. So Chancellor John Healey will be delivering a budget on the 28th of October, and Labour MPs are already circling like sharks round a kill, suggestions about which pockets the Treasury hasn't searched yet. Honestly, you'll be going down the street, a van will pull up, it'll be HMRC, they'll pick you up by your ankles and shake you and steal everything that falls out. But here's the thing. Do Labour just talk about growing the economy, or do they mean it? Because if they mean it, they won't put a wealth tax in and they won't dick with capital gains. They don't mean it. They're going to. Anyway, and finally, NASA has, by dint of their genius, managed to squeeze yet another year of life out of Voyager 2. It was launched in 1977. The spacecraft is now more than 20 billion kilometres from Earth, and it's still sending back scientific information home from what is now interstellar space. But, alas, its nuclear power supply is slowly fading. It's dying. And so engineers have devised another clever way of conserving enough electricity just to keep the old girl working just a little bit longer. She wasn't supposed to last this long. She should have died about 8 years ago, but they've closed things down and so on. So 49 years after launch, Voyager 2 is still exploring places no human-made spacecraft has reached before, and certainly where no man has ever gone. And then she's going to make 50. Because imagine that. You build a craft, you launch it, and it lasts 50 years and works perfectly for 50 years. They don't make them like they used to. Good on her. Although I suspect she may come back in a many, many years' time, much bigger, knowing everything and wanting to talk to us. I've seen Star Trek, the motion picture. Thanks very much. Live long and prosper, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.